everyone. Welcome to Achieving Success with Olivia Akin. I am your host, Olivia Akin. Each week, we will discuss the roadmap of achieving your personal and professional success. We give you real life stories on growing personally and professionally to achieve your life and career goals with the help of some top notch guests. Today, we are speaking with Nicole Powell. Nicole Powell is the founder and CEO of Halcon Marketing Solutions. Nicole's journey from Manila to the Midwest has been shaped by resilience, adaptability, and a passion for innovation. With over 16 years of experience working with both small businesses and major brands like Viacom and ESPN, she understands the power of marketing in creating meaningful connections and driving businesses' success. Recognizing a gap in how businesses engage their audience, Nicole launched Halcon with a vision to provide tailored results-driven marketing strategies. Her agency specializes in helping brands build authentic engagement, leveraging digital and experimental marketing to create a lasting impact. You can find Nicole on LinkedIn by searching Nicole Powell, or by going to her website, halconmarketing.com, or on Instagram at halconmarketing, or by email at contact@halconmarketing.com. Hello, Nicole. It's fantastic having you on the show today.
I am so excited to be here. Hi, Olivia.
Hi. I'm so excited because in our previous conversations, we went in a lot of different directions and connected on a lot of different things. So I know this conversation is going to be a lot of fun,
Yeah,
very impactful, and informative. And that being said, to start off the show, can you tell me what success means and looks like to Nicole Powell?
sure. So this is ever evolving, but let me share a little backstory. So I'm originally from New York, and started in TV production, so super competitive space, right? So I had this vision of what success was, especially immigrating here from the Philippines. I had this vision of like what the American dream was, the brands, the car, the title, like that is what success is, right? And then ultimately I realized like actually no, there's lots of different versions of success, not just what you see on TV, right? And ultimately for me now, it's two things. I think it's contentment and freedom. So from a contentment standpoint, obviously you could always make more money, you could always have a better car, you could always have a bigger house, a better title, all of that stuff. But for me, being able to sit down, look around, and understand that everything I need is like right here, and
Mhm.
that I'm happy and I've accomplished, and being just grateful for what I've done is enough for me. Because the other way of thinking, the goalpost was always moving, right? And I was just always stressed, not doing enough, comparing my. I'm sure Olivia, you can kind of relate to this. We're both kind of from that kind of space, right? Is comparison. It was just the worst. And then the second thing was freedom. So just being able to have the time to be with my children, my husband, go for a run, all of these like
Mhm.
little things that, I kind of took for granted, and being able to do that while working and doing great things that I'm passionate about is pretty successful. Ask me again next year though, because that might change. But for now, that is what success is for now.
And I love how you highlight for now, because
Yeah.
I think so many people, I've been told when I ask this question, well, that's daunting. That, you hear it on episodes of them go, wow, that's a hard question, or this has changed over time. And it should. It should change. And I think your other point of contentment and happiness and not trying to always strive towards that next goalpost is such an important realization. So many people I talk to, they start off with that same idealism you and I started with, where it's like, okay, just gotta work towards the next goalpost, just gotta get to the next thing, and then you also get to that next thing, and then instead of being in that moment, enjoying that success and being content,
Mhm.
you go, okay, well, now it's just let's hit the next goal. And there's no time to sit in that and be proud of that and be in that space and be present. And then over time, it becomes, people start to shift is like, okay, why wasn't this talked about more? Like, and I even recently had a discussion with my boyfriend my consulting has grown and what I'm doing, and now we move every few years because of his job. And he's like, well, ultimately, what is your goal? Like, what does that success story look like to you? And I'm like, wow, people, you're trying to flip the script on what I do every
It's
day.
a
Thank you.
podcast.
um and I was just like, ultimately where I sit now is what you just said as well, is being able to work and being able to go, okay, well, now let's go XYZ, turning off for the day at 2:30, or being able to say, you know what, tomorrow let's go skiing, currently living in Alaska, right?
Right.
You got back from being underway, you're off tomorrow. Let's go do something together because that's important too. And the
Mhm.
work is already done, or it could be time blocked in a different way to make sure it's done.
Yeah.
And I completely agree with that. And something you also brought up is your diverse experiences and across industries, across cultures. Was there a specific moment or challenge that made you realize marketing was your true passion? And how did that experience shape your approach to storytelling and brand connection?
So I kind of mentioned earlier that I started in television. Again, the vision was it was television, right? It was LA, all of that, New York City. But then when I was doing television, we were doing a lot of creative kind of commercials and spots, integrated marketing things for clients. And then, we would get all these great pieces of information, these brand books to make that brand come to life on our networks, right? And then I realized, like, at an award show I was at where I had like integrated marketing colleagues, I'm like, wait, I want to be the one who actually like makes the brand and then sit back and watch other people make it come to life, kind of thing. And then, so that kind of started my journey towards marketing, right? Like, your level of success is really kind of shifts where you end up, like what happens in your life. But then my story is actually interesting because after like over a decade of working in marketing, I got really burnt out. Like, I was nervous that I wouldn't be able to start a family or have kids because I'm like, I can't keep up in this level. Like, I just was stressed, you know? And then I decided, oh, I can't do this anymore. And I just left. So I started in a totally different industry, had to eat humble pie because I was entry level, literally, didn't know what I was doing. And it was actually the best thing that's ever happened to me and led me to where I am right now, because it exposed me to different kinds of brands, different kinds of businesses. So they obviously found out I was doing marketing. So they were like, hey, can you help us do this, that, and the other? And I said, okay, sure. But then I had a different team that I loved going to work. They were so lovely. And then I was working with smaller, like mom and pops, like smaller vendors, local businesses. And I just really loved it. And then the idea that I could create something myself, and it was very scary. I don't want everyone to think I just woke up and said, oh, I'm just gonna do this, because it was very scary and lots of conversations with my now husband. um, I kind of transitioned into having my own agency, and that moment in itself was what made me realize, like, this is really what I'm passionate about, taking these risks. I would never take these risks. I'm not much of a risk taker. I would never take these risks if it wasn't something I was truly passionate about. Um, and then seeing my work come to life, and then seeing a small business that we work with, and then they have more mind share, more market share because of the work I did right? And it changed their lives. Like there was just like, it gave me all the feels, right? And that's how my definition of success kind of evolved, right? It's not necessarily tied to what I thought it was. It was tied to really helping people. And sometimes you don't feel that sense of helping people when you work with $1 billion company, right? So
So
I think that answered your question.
yeah, and I want to dive into that a little bit more too, because as you said, it wasn't just, okay, I'm going to wake up one day and now I'm going to do this, and it came easy peasy, lemon squeezy kind of situation.
Right,
Lots of conversation and going down that path to really go, okay, this is where I want to sit, this is where I'm passionate about, this is where I know I can make that impact. But that being said, along the way, there was probably some moments where you doubted, is this the right choice? And what was that like? And how did you push through that and stay like grounded in the vision of, I know this is what I want to create, this is what I want outcome to be, and this is the impact I want to make, whether it was due to self-doubt or some other people potentially in your ear, because let's be honest, that all happens, of like, you shouldn't be doing it this way, you should be doing it that way,
right.
and not divert in your path.
Great question. And I think any entrepreneur who says that they never doubt themselves, I call a bluff. Um, I think I doubt myself several times a week. That imposter syndrome is real, right? Um, but I think ultimately what uh, keeps pushing me forward is kind of two things. So the first thing is the fact that I really want to do this marketing thing differently, right? Not just marketing, but creating this agency and redefining how we work with each other. So from a marketing standpoint is how do we combine other disciplines, science, psychology, neuroscience, research, data analytics, AI, all that stuff. How do we combine that along with our innate creativity and just like our natural gift for coming up with crazy stuff and really move the needle for clients, right? So that's one. And two, I think it's my support system. So my family, my friends, and also those people that trusted me, especially those folks who are still with me now when it was just me and one other person. And I moved to St. Louis not knowing anyone, right? So they took a chance on me, they took a shot. So these individuals who are still with me today, I owe a lot to them. And again, as I said earlier, like seeing the work that I'm doing and seeing actual impact, that's what pushes me forward. So I even look at it from the standpoint of I have someone who started with me as a marketing coordinator and then looking at them now and how much they've grown and how much they've learned and the fact that I contributed to that. So whether they stay with me or they go move on, knowing that they're a better marketer because of their experience with me, like again, I'm going to use it to all the fields. It's just so lovely because I feel like I'm doing more than just marketing, like I'm like helping people and shaping how this is done.
And one thing I think is really important in general, especially in the time today where everyone's like, marketing's so important, you have to market, you have to also think outside the box and understand all the moving pieces that go into it. It's not just about, for example, posting something on social media and then going, okay, well, I'm going to get all these sales from this
Yeah.
one post. And to your point, it's thinking about the neuroscience that goes with it, the emotions, all these things. How do you make sure you're incorporating all that into providing the best service for your clients and making sure, like, okay, this is important, the neuroscience, the AI technology, and really leveraging all of that?
Sure. So I think it all boils down to putting the right people in the right room, right? So, you can't be good at everything. And I can say that, like, if anything, search engine optimization or anything like that, development, I freak out. Like, it's not my jam, right? But when it's brand strategy, oh man, I'm totally in it. So one thing we do is, as a team, we're all specialists. So there's certain facets of this thing we call marketing that we're each very good at. And then we add in the right consultants, the right experts. For example, I love the brain, but I was not properly trained as a neuroscientist, right? So I know a lot about neuromarketing, but I mean, we as individuals don't even know how powerful the entirety of this brain is, right? So we actually work with a professor and she is a neuroscientist, and she consults with us on our projects to make sure that we're not missing anything, or that there wasn't a part of new research that's come out that could essentially affect what we do. So again, it's putting the right people in the right spaces and just being knowledgeable about the different tools that are out there, is what's really, I think, helping us kind of take it to the next level.
What is
Sure.
neuromarketing for
Yeah,
those of us who might not know the in
yeah.
depths of it?
It's, oh my gosh, how much time do we got? It's super exciting. So neuro really that intersection of like neuroscience, psychology, and marketing. So it's really understanding how the brain responds to stimuli. So a lot of our decisions are made subconsciously, right? So we think that we are picking this because it's we made that conscious rational decision, right? But anyone here who's ever bought something because of the brand name attached to it versus the actual utility of the product, or the fact that you could probably go on Amazon and find an alternative, knows that, hey, we don't always make the best decision, right? So there's so much neuromarketing or neuroscience research out there where people are provided certain pieces of marketing stimuli. And then you can kind of really analyze the parts of the brain which are responsible for different reactions, right? What gets triggered, right? Like what lights up. So then that helps with our marketing, because we know, okay, like we want to be able to tap into that emotional part of our brain, right? Like, so let's look at all the research and all of really understand that part of the brain so that we can create marketing messages and visuals that would help with that. And it's not brainwashing everybody. So that's the question I get as well, is like, oh my God, this is brainwashing. What are you doing? You're an evil person. And that's not it. Well, I'm sure other people could use it in not so great ways, but I sure as heck don't. I hope that answered the question as well.
No, it does. And it's something too, to the point of you explaining, when you look at, and this was a piece of conversation we've had previously, is like referrals are such a powerful tool. And why is it such a powerful tool? And when getting new clients and getting clients that will stay their full lifespan. Well, it's because someone who trusts the brand, who knows that the brand, the service works, that they had a good experience with it, is saying, hey, I'm going to use my voice, my name, and back this product, which then turns around and goes, okay, well, if you're backing it and you're saying it's good, it must be good, and then I'll buy it, right? And the dollar amount is not at, it's valued differently in that case than maybe just seeing a poster somewhere, different levels. So using neuroscience to do a similar effect in the space of you're scrolling or whatever it might be is also, in a way, I am going to put it this way, and you can correct me if I'm
Oh,
wrong. It's the thing that's going to get you to stop scrolling, and
yeah.
it's potentially that elevator pitch to go, okay, I want to know more. I want to buy this product, or I'm going to buy this product.
Uh-huh. And ultimately, it's all based off of just helping people not be fearful, right? We all want to be safe. So you take it back to just when we were all, Neanderthals, Homo sapiens, all that fun stuff. We just want to survive. So ultimately, those biological needs of ours are still there. So in the marketing space or in the brand space, we just want to make people feel like, hey, we are reliable. Like, you do not have to worry. You do not have to fear. And again, that activates that kind of like, safety within our brains, that we can be safe with this business. We can be safe with this brand. And ultimately, that's what people want, is that feeling of safety in a variety of different forms.
I want to touch upon that a little bit more,
Sure.
because especially in a space where right now a big level of conversation is AI, lead generation, all these things where it's the cold email, just send all those emails, whatever it might be, all are tools. But a lot of times an individual might be bombarded, whether it's on LinkedIn and their email, this and that, with is similar, just like, I'm sending this out. It's a wide net of people. Whoever, gets in it, gets in, and I just keep doing that. What is your feel on that when it comes to marketing and really making people feel, also to your point, that it is a safe space when there is things out there that can be like, okay, well, the other 9 times it wasn't a safe space, right? And this and that was happening.
Sure. So I think I like to compare marketing and to like a dating relationship, right? So we can all use a dating app, right? The dating app is a great tool because I'm able to meet people that I wouldn't normally meet, right? But once we go and start messaging somebody on a dating app, we're probably not going to say, hey, generic person, I love your profile, want to meet? We're probably going to try to find some sort of connection with that person, scroll their profile and check out what their interests are, and have that sort of step one in a relationship. So think of AI and all of these tools, and they're great tools to have, kind of like that dating app, right? So we can tap into it to help us achieve that like great marriage or that great relationship, right? But you also got to do a little work, right? Because in order for your safe is they want to feel that you're invested, that this is just not a one-way relationship. So if it means doing a little research, so for example, I'll take your, podcast, for example. If you're going to get the same 10 emails that look about the same, you're going to say this person didn't even do any work. They're not invested. They don't really care. But if you get a very intentional, thoughtful message where it's evident that this person actually took the time and invested in you, then it's a reciprocal relationship, right? There's that mutual benefit. So again, triggers are in our head like mutual benefit, reciprocity, I feel safe, like this is a give and take, right? So that's going to lead to the better relationships that we all want, and that sale. So I kind of compare different facets of marketing to dating, maybe because I met my husband through a dating app. Fun fact, everybody. Maybe that's why I can relate to this analogy. But I think it's important that although it's a business, ultimately everyone behind that business, everyone purchasing from the business, we're all humans, right? You can't change human nature. And what we really want from each other is to feel like we're not in this alone, that you're in it with me. So if you're just sending generic cold messages out there to everyone and thinking, okay, well, if I send 20, maybe I'll get 2 responses. But imagine if you actually took the time to just send 10, but they were all very meaningful, personalized messages. Maybe you would get more than the 2, right? So yeah.
And that's the thing that I think a lot of people forget is they go, oh, it's a numbers game. It's just a numbers game. Well, when you look at it as a game, a numbers game, then that's, what you're going to get out of it. It's also what you put into it to go, okay, where's the value? What do I want to be able to provide? What ways? Like, I've had conversations with people and they're like, well, we're marketing on every social media platform and we pay for this and we do that. And I'm like, back the bus up for a
Right.
second. You're telling me you're doing all this and you're not finding value in it. And so now you want to start like stopping it. Well, why aren't you finding value in it? You know, like when I started my podcast and my business, that was one of the things when I was talking to someone who was going to handle the social media accounts and the marketing. They were obviously it's all me and I decide everything. And they're like, okay, so we're gonna post 5 times a day and we're gonna do it on, create a Twitter, create a which is now X, create, TikTok and all these things. And I was like, I've never been on TikTok or Twitter. So like, can you give me some guidance on what to say or like how to say it? Because I could write it up
Yeah.
and or like record it, but I don't know if it's what people want because I haven't found the value in those platforms. I've never used that.
Hmm.
And I was like, you're going to feel that. And we beta tested it out. I was like, okay. I was like, but also hold up. Like posting 5 times a day is a lot of work for me to do recordings on top of everything else. Let's like do like 3 times a week and like let's start there and then ease into it.
Uh-huh.
And they're like, okay. And we started and like traction was happening on LinkedIn and some on Instagram and then Facebook, and like it was good to have the presence. TikTok, Twitter, uh, yeah, like nothing was happening. And I'm like, yeah, because they could probably feel like I have
Yeah.
like am totally uncomfortable. Let's get off of these.
Yeah.
And then it's like focusing where not only your audience is, but you're also comfortable can make all the difference, as well as like building those actual relationships and getting the right people in the room. Because to your point too, and I'd love to hear more about this, it's not just about putting the dollars down to do it and like going, okay, well, it's going to reach all these people. It's about reaching the right people.
No, you're absolutely right. And I think the biggest misconception is everything you just said, right? So if something's not working, the idea, and honestly, I've heard marketing agencies say this too. So it's not just, the business owner is like, okay, let's throw more money at it. Let's do more ads, more commercials, more this, more that. But I think what is missing there is that it's not just about increasing visibility, right? You can have as many people in this world see your ad, but you also have to understand that other businesses, especially in the digital space, are doing exactly what you're doing. So your target consumer is getting bombarded with messages right and left. I mean, even think about your own behavior when you're looking through Instagram or anything. How many marketing messages do you get bombarded with, right? That's your audience. And the idea that you're going to keep pumping out the same creative, same message, and just add a little bit more money to it, and that's going to lead to the magical conversion is not accurate, because you have to change your messaging. You have to meet the audience where it's at, do the testing that you mentioned to understand what's going to work, what's going to resonate, and then make those adjustments to really understand your audience. And to your point, I liked something that you said, that you were trying different things and that worked. I think people, there's this misconception that if I'm delivered a marketing plan, this is it, right? We're not going to divert from this plan. This is the magical plan. If somebody had one magical plan that could work for everybody, that person would be a gajillionaire and I would pay for it. I think any business here would pay for it. But it's about understanding your audience more. And you can't understand your audience without some sort of experimentation and taking that feedback to keep refining your marketing. So I love that you said that. I was like, yep, that's it.
You've experienced marketing from so many different angles, right? From working with major brands like ESPN and Viacom, and then transitioning into working with smaller businesses and businesses of different levels with your company. How come? What's something you've learned from working with large scale corporations that most small businesses are overlooking, but can completely change the way they connect with their audience?
Love this question. And I think two things. if I have enough time, two things is the idea of brand consistency. So I think a lot of small businesses think it's just all about one ad, one commercial, like I mentioned earlier. But you have to look at a variety of your touch points and all of the different channels that you're in and ensure that your brand, not just visually, but also verbally, is consistent throughout. Is key. And the large corporations understand this. As someone who's been the recipient of a big brand, national corporation's brand book, I'm telling you, they invest in this heavily, right? And I think that's what's missing in the small business space. And that's what I really wanted to bring in the small business space, right? And then secondly, I think small businesses really overlook the idea of brand perception. And we touched upon it a little bit earlier in that how it's so important for your audience to feel something because you're bombarded again with a lot of different messages. And if everyone's saying the same thing, you're not going to be remembered. You have to make you have to win when it comes to that race of memory. How do you make your brain or your audience remember something? You make them feel something, you make them connect with it. And small businesses, I think, are super hyper focused on we're the best service or we have 50 colors, very superficial stuff that all competitors can say. So if you look at your brand messaging and think that, oh, any of my competitors can put their logo here and say the same thing that I'm saying about my brand, then chances are you're not hitting the mark when it comes to differentiating yourself. And that's what the big brands really focus on.
And when you were saying that, something like popped up in my head of a conversation I had very recently, like within 48 hours of when we're talking right now. And someone came to me and they're like, okay, well, your monthly package is $3,500 a month. This other company is $2,500 a month. And they do, and like they're going down the list and they're like, okay, well, they don't work on strategy with us. They're not going to oversee the workflow, but they're doing, and the way they phrased it is, well, you both do the titles and the descriptions, and they said they could upload it. And when I mentioned the coding in the background, like you do, they said, yeah, sure, we could do that. So, like, for $1,000 difference, it sounds like they could do the same thing. And I said to her, I go, uh-huh. Okay. And I said, who, right, when we've been talking, I'm handling that strategy, making sure it's implemented, making sure we're following through on everything. Are they going to do that? And she like stopped for a second. She was like I could see it moving in her brain. And I go, okay, so I'm going to use this hypothetical example in this that I gave her. I said, so your podcast doesn't get edited. You drop on a Tuesday. Your editor is busy that week. It's falling off their plate.
Uh-huh.
Well, that other company, are they the one communicating with them, going like, hey, where does this stand? Because I got to do the title descriptions and like make sure we're all good and make sure everything's in alignment, to your point earlier, with verbally making sure that it's consistent and it is in that person's voice and this and that. Like, I have to have time to do this and make sure it's up in time. Or are they going to go, well, it's Monday nights after work hours. We'll just take care of this tomorrow. And then it gets delayed, which goes towards that consistency aspect. And I said, and when you have questions about XYZ, are they going to be willing to answer them? Again, if they are, that's amazing. And if they're really that price and they're offering all of this to you, then yes, do it. Because to your point, Nicole, at the end of the day, if you could put your name, your company name on something else, then like yes. However, there should be that competitive advantage that sets you apart. And when she sat down and she was like, yeah, me and my husband talked about we're just staying with you. And she was like, I forgot all about all these things because every time we work together, it's just so easy and so seamless. And this and that. I just thought like, okay, well, that's what I'm going to get with everyone.
Right. Yeah.
And I'm like, sometimes it's the difference of, to your point, the branding, the messaging, the feeling, because there can be offers that look exactly the same, especially when we get bombarded with it. But when you start to pull back the layers, there has to be differentials. There is a reason, I would hope, that most businesses are priced differently, you
Correct.
know, and
No.
not just trying to steal your money either.
Oh, you're right. And I think people just forget, like, when I think a lot of folks just separate the professional from the personal so much. Like, would you be thinking the same exact way if you were looking for someone to come in to fix your refrigerator? Like, would you be thinking this way when you're thinking about the daycare that you want to hire, right? So, like, when people think about their business, they kind of forget, like, no, there's these other things that you want to look for when it comes to a partner that isn't so like blaring, right? Like, again, feeling safe, knowing you're with someone who's reliable. And ultimately, too, Olivia, like your vibe, your energy, your experience, like those are like, you know what I mean? Like, I knew when I was going to go into this conversation, oh, this is going to be fun. Like, this is going to be an easy conversation. It's not going to be difficult. Like, I knew that because we've already spoken and I've listened to your podcast. So, these are kind of things that are so important that lots of businesses forget, that it's not just about the service, it's not just about the product. Like, what are the intangibles that you need to communicate that will make you stand out, you know?
I love how you bring that up too, because I feel like sometimes people, like you said, blurred the line on it. And do not get me wrong, there are things you should look at and be like,
Yeah.
okay, you know, someone's coming to wash, I'm going to use the wash the car
Yeah.
example.
Yeah.
There's so many places you could go to wash the car. They're all built exactly the same way, or going to do exactly the same thing. So let's find the cheapest option, because in reality, it's the same service getting done. But that's also like one of my big my big things when communicating with people is it I feel like I could sniff out now a automatic message that gets sent so quickly because there isn't any personalization to it. And I've had people like I handle all, or like even the essence of, like, I talked to someone when I was starting my business that was a lead generation company, and I hired them for 5 months and not a single lead that, or like client I ended up getting, I should say client, was from the lead generation business. And then at the end, they were like, well, like, to stay with us, you have to do XYZ because like we haven't gotten our percentage. And I was like, you haven't gotten your percentage because you're not reaching out to the right people. There's a difference here. But like when you speak on behalf of someone else, you have to be thoughtful in that, and you have to be holding yourself accountable to your taking care of someone else's business. And I think a lot of time people also forget about that. So how do you try to also make sure that while you're working with a company, you're representing not just their brand, their vision, their goals, but also their voice?
Right. So this is something that I experienced in my previous life before the agency, where I felt like there was so much burnout. Lots of folks getting overworked. I couldn't think of the word. Lots of folks feeling like, okay, I just finished this big project and I worked, whatever hours a week, and then you get another one. And it just like never ends, right? There's just more and more work, more and more work. So for me and for our team, we really are selective as far as the amount of clients we take on. We need to make sure that we have the mental bandwidth to be proactive. And when you're overwhelmed, you can't, right? Because you
Mhm.
just need to cross things off your list. And then that's what happens. Hey, I'm just going to send the same generic email 50 times, or I'm just going to do the same kind of caption, because you just don't have the mental capacity to be creative or to think next level. So I think it's really important for my team, and this is how I want to structure my business moving forward, is to make sure that the people are taken care of so that they can take care of our clients to the best of their ability. So yes, profitability is important. All that stuff is important, and all that profit margins or whatever. But ultimately, so is your reputation. And I think there's so much emphasis on you need to be making seven figures, and otherwise you're not successful, because that is the number of success. And I think a lot of folks are losing the fact that your people are really, really important. And if you take care of your people, they're going to take care of your clients, so that it's a personalized, very custom experience. So I'm very lucky that I'm able to do that. But I think giving my team and even myself the bandwidth to think and to work. And the ebbs and flows. There are some months where we're like, oh my God, I cannot do this anymore. But it should not be consistent, right? So that we can take care of our clients.
I think too, it's one of those things, and it's something like I say, and if people get surprised, I'm like, there's going to be a cap on clients, like there just is, because to your point, the bandwidth and in reality, setting expectations, but also being like, how can I put that best foot forward and make sure it actually gets done? And one thing I say is, for example, when you work with me, you work with me. I've been giving, going back to that lead generation company, for example, I thought when I was signing on, I was going to work with the owner of the company because he's the one talking to me. He's the one, him and his wife, it's all them in all the meetings. And then the second I signed, it was like, okay, you're going to be passed upon this person. And that person wasn't, for whatever reason, doing the same care as, what the owners are talking to me about and the strategy and all this stuff. So I say, whether you have a team or not, I personally have a team, my amazing producer, Ben, he produces all the episodes and edits them, is like, you have your team, but also you have to know where the team's strengths are and where you're actually going to have the touch points with the person. So when it comes to strategy across the board, when it comes to the titles, the descriptions, like all that, you're getting me 100% of the time. And they're like, clients go, wait, I'm really gonna like I just have to contact you. And I'm like, yes, because if that's my lane of expertise and my knowledge, I'm not going to pass you off to someone who does not know that. And taking care of your team and being like, hey, listen, I know from learning from my production team aspects of production and what we should be doing and whatnot. But I'm not going to sit and produce your episode because my team knows what they're doing, not me. And like doing that trust, but I think setting those expectations are also so important when going into anything.
You're absolutely right. Yay, Ben.
Well, that being said, with marketing consistently evolving, especially as you mentioned with the digital trends, AI, for example, and shifting consumer behavior, what's one outdated marketing practice that businesses still cling to that you find, and what should they be doing instead to stay ahead?
So I'm going to say great question again, because I think that's my habit, but it is a great question. So I think the biggest, most outdated thing I see out there that businesses do is marketing to everyone and anyone, and also marketing everything, being the catch-all for all of the things. And with AI, with your ability to do segmentation on a variety of different platforms, like you should be personalizing, right? Kind of what we said earlier, customizing your marketing message for your specific audience. I think, as I said, it's really a competition for memory. How do you get remembered? And if you're going to be marketing this service, this service, this service, we're great at this, we're great at this, we're great at this, we're the person for you everywhere, that's not going to connect, especially if you're on socials or anything like that, because there has to be consistency, that brand consistency, like I said earlier. So if you're marketing to everyone and marketing everything all at the same time, the customer, it's not going to make those associations in their brain that you are the go-to person for XYZ. And with AI, that's a great assistant. right? It's a great tool, but don't forget that personalization piece. With email marketing, with any of these tools, the segmentation pieces, all the cool things that they're doing with AI and like your CRM and all of these crazy things, that's just helping it make your life easier. There's no excuse that we don't tap into all of the data that we can extract from all of these things to create even more personalized messages, because we know what's resonating with our audience. So I think this idea of just cold emailing, one message to everyone, say the same thing over and over, that like those days, everybody, they're gone. They're done. They're over. Like I want to feel like you want to date me. Like show me you want to date me and tell me something nice, you know? Take me out to
Mhm.
dinner.
Mhm.
So yeah, so that's kind of the one thing that I really want a lot of small businesses especially to keep in mind, and there's no excuse anymore to not do that.
Nicole, how could people get in touch with you if they want to connect with you?
Oh my gosh, so many ways,
Mhm.
everybody. Well, you can go to at Halcon Marketing on Instagram. And my personal one is at Nicole Powell Brand. And I'm just going to leave it at that because if you go there, you will find all the plethora of ways to contact me.
Amazing. Well, thank you, Nicole, for all of your insight today.
Thanks, Olivia. So much fun.
It was so much fun, and I have a list of many takeaways. And I'll say a few of our key takeaways, but they are really impactful takeaways. Some of those key takeaways from today's conversation include it is okay to doubt yourself. As entrepreneurs, as individuals who might be working in corporate or for a small business, big business, it's okay to doubt yourself and know that's part of a weekly process. And to Nicole's point, she said earlier, if there's one entrepreneur out there that has not done that on a weekly, monthly, yearly basis, like please reach out to us because we would love to hear your secret formula, as well as redefine how you work together. I think that's really important to understand. How are you working as a team? How are you collaborating? As well as put the right people in the right room. I think that when Nicole brought that up, it's like take a moment. Are the right people that you need to hit your goal through marketing, through a service, a product that you want to implement in the room to have the conversation? Because if they're not in the room, if they're not at the table, are you really going to accomplish that goal? As well as a lot of decisions are made subconsciously. So when you're marketing, think about that. We all want, as Nicole just jokingly said, we all want to be taken out to dinner. We all want to feel like we're wanted, like we're heard, like we're validated. And a lot of those decisions get made subconsciously. So what is that 30-second when someone's scrolling, the feeling they get from your content? Are they getting a feeling? Those are some of the questions you should be asking, as well as in the brand space. You should be the safe space. Your brand, what you're doing, should be the place they feel comfortable. If someone does not feel comfortable working with you, or vice versa, you don't feel comfortable working with them, it's not going to be a space that you guys should be collaborating in. As well as marketing is like a dating app. I loved when Nicole brought this up. And this is going to be like my tagline, I feel like, for a
Yay.
long time. Is like it's like a dating app. Like really, think about it that way. Change and redefine how you look at marketing for your business. And I think Nicole, that is what you brought up there. Is it is when you look at it and you reframe your mindset, especially as a small business owner, it can look very differently. Your approach can be very different, as well as marketing is not just about visibility. And I think that is important too. And it goes into the last point is your brand is visually, but also verbally should be in alignment throughout. And it should be consistent and it should be highlighted. And someone should be able to look at anything and go, okay, colors, brand alignment, whatever it might be. Oh, their tone, brand alignment. Oh, this alignment. This was a great episode with our top-notch guest, Nicole Powell. Thank you for listening and have a successful day.